Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 7 on Kentucky Derby Saturday is the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile, a grade 2 for fillies and mares on the lawn. Let's take a look at this field of milers. The 3 Dream a While goes out for Chad Brown and has to be considered one of the major contenders in this race. She really has done nothing wrong in 3 North American starts. Beaten by LEC's World last time out, she was ridden so confidently. When she got to the top, it looked like she was going to win for fun. She didn't change leads in the stretch. I was a little disappointed with that effort, but it was a fast race. This is Chad Brown, and maybe this shorter distance helps.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of thinking. I mean, you know, maybe at the end of the day, it's just a mile and an eighth that got to her last time. Still, though, I mean, that's just got to be a disappointing loss for her. She sat right up there. She took over at the top of the stretch, like I read, had tons. She couldn't get away from that field. And then, just to add insult to injury for people like me who bet her at 6-1, she gets run down by LEC's World. I don't know, man. I know that she can win this race. I can't take her on top.
She's the second choice on the morning line. The morning line favors the Keeneland graduate on the outside, the number 11, La Coronel. 3-1 on the line. Jose Lezcano takes the mount. This horse is a grade 1 stakes winner, but I have to admit, I was very disappointed with her performance in the Jenny Wiley. We all know that La Coronel likes Keeneland a lot, and she was prompting the pace, I thought, in a pretty decent spot in second. She moved on the turn like she was going to run big. She seemed very uncomfortable in the stretch. She hung on her left lead all the way down into inside the 16th pole, and then there was no pop. I'm a little concerned about that effort, and now taking her at a short price off that effort.
You're being way too hard on her, Dan. Chad Brown horses ran 1, 2, 3.
That is true.
You cannot beat Chad Brown
horses
in graded stakes races. No, I'm with you. I was disappointed in her Jenny Wiley as well. She got a really nice trip in there. But you know, the race still came back pretty fast. Obviously, the horses that ran her down are all 3 really good horses. I don't feel like this race, and obviously it's not a grade 1, but this race isn't nearly as tough as that one. It's La Coronel, and she's the favorite, and I'm not a big fan of hers, and I've never really liked her that much, and there's just no way I'm betting her at that kind of a price, but she can win this race.
The good news is she always has that tactical speed to get that kind of trip, and as we see from the Timeform US pace projector, they have the 11 La Coronel sitting in a fairly comfortable spot, especially considering that the likely pace setter, the number 10, Psycho Sister, is a 30-1 chance coming in from Golden Gate. This horse has been in very good form since being claimed for $32,000, but makes a lovely target for a horse like La Coronel.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, I won't knock this horse at a really big price on the morning line, and her last few races are fine, but this is a tough spot for her.
Thundering Sky is the number 2, and we see that she has the potential to work out a very nice trip as well. I'm a little bit disappointed. Usually we see East Coast-based horses in the filly and mare division go to the West Coast and make hay, and while Thundering Sky's picked up some nice checks in races like the Megahertz and the Buena Vista and the Royal Heroine, she just couldn't get over the top. She might need this kind of trip to get into the winner's circle. 10-1 for George Weaver.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I just feel like, you know, the races that she's been running in her most recent 3 or 4 starts, that's probably her ceiling. I mean, for the most part, she's had really good trips in those races, and at the end of the day, she's just not good enough.
I think Madame Dancelot, the number 1, is a very dangerous contender. She is a true deep closer, as you see. Maybe that will work against her. She got such a beautiful ride as the favorite last time out under Corey Nakatani. Corey could have went wide around the turn, and maybe he would have won anyway, but he was very patient. He knew what he had. He saved as much ground as possible, came out at just the right time, and was able to run down that field. My concern is that field hasn't come back good at all.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good field, and this is going to be way tougher for her, but still, she's the California horse that I'm going to use. You know, she's a new 4-year-old. I hate her running style. She'll be last at the top of the stretch most likely, but she just runs every single time, and I think she will put in a run in this race. Whether she can get there or not, I don't know. But this is the California horse I'm going to use.
We have the 2nd and 3rd place finishers of the recent Grade 3 Honey Fox Stakes at Gulfstream on the Florida Derby card. You and I liked Res Ipsa, picked her in the stakes preview, bet her with enthusiasm. She got the fast pace she needed. She was just too far back. She came with a late run, and I have to admit, I said some very filthy words after that race was over, after she was nosed at 14-1, but she finished off her 4-year-old campaign in style. That was a good comeback race. I don't think she has to be that far back. I'm scared of Res Ipsa again, and 10-1 on the morning line, I'm using her again.
I'm using her again, too. I couldn't put her on top this time because I'm with you, man. I felt like everything was there for her to get it done last time at a great price, so I can't necessarily just go right back to her, but I have to use her because I'm with you. She really improved at the end of last year. I loved the way she was headed, and she did run well off the layoff.
On Leave was the beaten favorite in the Honey Fox, and she was closer to that fast pace, obviously, than Riz Ipsa. She sort of ran and then was kind of flat in between. Maybe she was too close to that pace. It was her first start in about 3 months, maybe just a starting off point for Shug. But I'm getting the feeling that you and I were starting to get a little bit tired of the act.
Yeah, she lost me last year. I liked her a lot as a 3-year-old. She totally lost me as a 4-year-old. Even though she finished first and second in 5 of 7 starts, she just really lost me at the end of last year. I don't think she improved as a 4-year-old, and I don't have any excuse for Honey Fox. I thought she got a really good trip in that race. She wasn't that close to the pace. She had a clear run from the top of the stretch. She was never getting there, and she got outfinished from behind by Riz Ipsa. I don't want this horse.
We talked about okay East Coast horses going west and doing very, very well. Here's Dream Dancing, who won the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, first time shipping to the West Coast for Mark Casse. Now, she's come back east in 3 starts and hasn't been able to come close to that performance. She's a solid runner that's going to give you a buyer in the high 80s, low 90s, but she doesn't have a lot of early speed, and I just think there are better closers in here.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. It almost feels like she's, whatever good form she once had, it feels like she's totally lost it. I mean, her most recent race, the Suwannee River, she basically did no running at all in that race. So, you know, we'll see where she is. The one thing about her is I don't know why they've just sort of ultimately decided that she's this one-run closer, because she never really had that running style early on. When it felt like she had a ton of potential, she would stay closer to the pace and still run well. And now it just seems like they decided that she's a one-run closer. I don't like that about her. I think she's better than that. Maybe Castellano, the rider switch, could make a difference here. Maybe he gets a little more aggressive with her and sort of puts her into the race, because I do think she has ability still.
Madam Stripes is one of those Southern California horses that sometimes it's her turn and sometimes it's not, and she has a lot of second place finishes on her resume. It was strange to see her contesting the pace last time out. I think all in all it wasn't the worst decision in the world. She was only beaten a length and a quarter. This formulator fact for Neil Drysdale is a bit surprising considering how good the barn is. Only 4% over the past 5 years, with second off the layoff older horses in graded stakes turf routes. She's okay. She actually has some fast races that indicate she can win a race like this, and it was nice to see some speed last time out. She's not a one-run closer.
Now, I agree with all that stuff. She has a versatile running style. Occasionally she will show up with a race that would probably make her pretty competitive in here, and it's not like she's going to be a short price in this race. To be honest with you, Dan, I don't like her that much in this race, but I can see making a case for her and wanting to take a shot with her.
La Coronel and Dream a While are very logical, short-priced horses in this field, but we're going to take a chance at some better price options as we take a look at our top selections for the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. You're a big fan of Proctor's Ledge. She was so good at Saratoga last year. And we look at her 2 races this year. The Hillsborough, it looked like she had that race won, but maybe she felt the effects of that long layoff in the final furlong. What happened last time out in the Jenny Wiley? Was it just simply a situation where she had to deal with the tough chads, the pace didn't really come back too much, or did she didn't like Keeneland?
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
or did she bounce?
There's part of it to say that, you know, you can look at her races at Keeneland. They've run her there 3 times. I don't think any one of those is necessarily her best performance. She was also, you know, wide every step of the way last time, but still, she just didn't put in any kind of a big run in that race. She just sort of flattened out through the stretch and was no factor. On the other hand, that field was way better than this one. I really don't feel like this race came up nearly as tough as it could have come up. I do think she ran a good race off the layoff at Tampa. I thought maybe she moved a little bit too soon in that race, made the lead early, got run down at the end, but just run down at the end. I thought she ran well that day, and I think if she can bounce back to a performance like that, I think she's right there in this race.
I'm interested in your opinion of Insta Irma, who might not be good enough to win this race, but I've been following her for a while, and it seems that Richard Baltus has really improved her. I thought she had trouble in the Maybe in her first start for Baltus, came back to beat Madam Stripes in the Swing Time Stakes, trouble in the Matriarch, a Grade 1 race that showed that she could run with good horses on her very best day. In the Megahertz, I thought it was sort of odd that Corey Nakatani had her in a coveted pocket position and then decided to go for the lead at the half-mile pole, splitting horses. I thought she moved too soon that day. The tough race to kind of say, well, what happened was last time, because she just didn't fire at all. I like that Baltus has given her a freshening. She just seemed like she needed it with that lack of punch last time out in the Buena Vista. She does have a bit of a versatile running style. I like this rider switch to Rosario. I just wonder if she classes up with these horses, although the Matriarch gives me some hope.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought she ran well in the Matriarch. And again, you know, this is just one of those races I feel like didn't come up as strong as it could have. So maybe she fits really well. And I'm with you. Really the only race that she hasn't run run well since Baltus took over was the last one, but there were a bunch of horses out of that race and this race, and none of them ran well in that race, so I don't know what happened there. Her other races, I think, do make her a contender. When they had her in New York, when Mott had her, I always felt like she wanted to go shorter. I always felt like she was like a 7 furlong Belmont kind of horse, one turn, but the mile feels like a good distance for her. I do think Baltus has improved her.
But you like Proctor's Legend, you're going to get a price on a horse that has been a proven commodity in graded stakes races. You're going 6-3, 1-5. I'll take a chance with Insta Irma, 4-3, 11-7 in the Grade 2 Distaff Turf Mile. Race number 7 on Derby Day Saturday is an approximate post time of 1:55 Eastern. Good luck.